Thank you. And we will open our meeting. And thank you all for being here this morning. We are going to have a couple presentations initially. So the first one is the Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting, and that is going to be Chief Riley and Battalion Chief Maddox making that presentation. Chief Riley?
Good morning. For the record, Doug Riley, Fire Chief. Mayor and Commissioners, Deputy City Manager, all staff and guests, thank you for having us this morning and letting us share a few minutes and to give you guys some updates and some information about our fire department. Today we're going to talk about the Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting. We'll call it ARF for now, but it's Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting. It's the operations that we do at Station 7 for on the airport emergency operations. I don't think we've shared much of this with you guys in the past, so I'm trying to find something new and different so we're not boring you with the same old stuff. So thank you for that. I brought some help today. Battalion Chief John Maddox is our subject matter expert in everything related to aircraft rescue and firefighting. He has taken on the additional role of being our coordinator, so he's going to do the presentation. We'll be here to answer questions. And before I bring him up, I'm going to give you guys some information. At the last budget reading, we had a conversation about Station 7 and the cost of Station 7, and we weren't really sure exactly what the numbers are. It was $5.1 million, and I believe Commissioner Reed asked that. So that was the cost. $2 million of that was grant funding that the airport, our friends at the airport, were able to secure, and obviously the property was donated. So there's a better number for you.
And that's 2016?
2013 we moved
13, wow.
Yes, sir. Okay, with that, I'm going to bring up Chief Maddox.
Good morning, John Maddox, Battalion Chief with Lakeland Fire Department. I've been with the department for 28 years. In 2010, I promoted to Battalion Chief, and shortly later that year became the ARF coordinator, overseeing our operations at the airport on the crash fire rescue side. So we'll talk a little bit this morning about what we do, where we started, and challenges we have ahead of us. Basically, we're responsible for protecting the Lakeland Linder International Airport and all the flying public that comes in and out of there. We also have structural and medical response out of the other side of the station that goes out into the community for that response. And then they also back up the ARF trucks on the airport side of the field. We train and staff 45 ARF certified personnel in our department. And we make sure that we stay compliant with the FAA regulations concerning our indexing and any future commercial carrier operations and opportunities. So there's a lot of things that happen at the airport now that weren't happening before we had ARF services because they needed that protection for different aircraft coming in and out.
And ARC stands for?
Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting. So our lineup at Station 7, the two crash trucks are ARF-1 and ARF-2. ARF-1 is our primary truck that is staffed 24/7. And then ARF-2 is our backup, our spare, so that if ARF-1 has a mechanical issue or needs to be out of service for maintenance, we have a truck that'll meet our index requirements in reserve. On the other side, the structural side of the house, is Engine 71 and Heavy Rescue 73. So 2007, ARF-1 was added to the fleet. We staffed that truck with 2 personnel, and they were located in what was the old airport terminal, right at the base of the old tower. We started out with a driver and a firefighter, and we then later changed that firefighter out to an officer and had a lieutenant on that truck. 2011, Direct Air began operations at Lakeland Linder. They provided commercial service. I believe it was for about a year. Then in 2013, we added Engine 71 to the fleet out there, opened up for structural protection. We added on to the station that was there, the temporary building, put some portables for the firefighters to sleep in, and added on to the lean-to for the trucks. 2015 was the completion of Station 7 and added Truck 73 to the fleet at Station 7, and that was about the time we also became ISO 1. We got that rating by adding that station and those vehicles. Then in 2020, Amazon began cargo operations at Lakeland Linder. So as you know, last month, you guys approved the FAA grant for the new ARF apparatus. The ARF-1 is a 2007. It's at the end of its service career as a frontline apparatus. The current ARF-1, when we take delivery of the new truck, hopefully in about a year, we'll transition into ARF-2 and become the backup. We are getting another Oshkosh Stryker 1500. 1500 is how much water it holds. So that's where that number comes in. The cost of that truck is going to be $1.6062 million. And again, the FAA and FDOT are picking up the largest part of that, with the Airport Operations Fund making up the remainder. This is something, it'll look very close to this truck. This is not the actual truck. They're custom built, but this is one of their show trucks. In 2022, Station 7 had 1,283 calls for service. 1,057 of those were engine 71. Truck 73 went on 720 of them. And then ARF-1 and ARF-2 had 51 responses. Some of our major stakeholders at the airport, Draken International is a private corporation that provides a lot of training for the Department of Defense. They have a lot of specialized aircraft, trainer aircraft from all around the world. They also just got a couple of F-16s that are in. So we have to train with those folks on those aircraft because they have ejection seats and stuff like that. So our folks have to know how to get those pilots out safely if they have an emergency. NOAA is another big one we work with. At the end of hurricane season, they have a couple weeks of downtime that they do training and stuff, and they've invited us several times to come in and participate in that training with them. And then, of course, Amazon, we had to train on all their aircraft, had to be very familiar with that. We had to know how to open all the doors, get the pilots out. We also they do a lot of drills for fuel spills and things like that, so we participate in training with them on a regular basis. And other than the airport itself, probably our largest stakeholder is Sun and Fun. They have events throughout the year, not just the big air show, but they do events all throughout the year that we help support. During the air show, we increase our staffing to cover that. We add an additional engine with overtimers that is dedicated to the Sun and Fun event. And then we also staff both of the ARF trucks with 2 people. And then we have our command and general staff at the command post that's set up just outside of LPD's hangar. And we run several medical ATVs throughout the week. Usually Saturday's our busiest day, so that's when we have the most of them, but there'll be several throughout the week. All right, in February of 2022, we completed a full-scale exercise. This is an FAA requirement that every 3 years, airports with commercial service or trying to get commercial service that are the class and index that we are at Lakeland have to do this full-scale exercise. And this brings in all of our mutual aid resources in the county and the neighboring counties, all the organizations that would be participating if we had an actual aircraft accident at the airport. This exercise takes about 6 months to plan and to execute, so a lot of work goes into that, and it's a busy day. So live fire training, we have to do live fire training every year with our airport firefighters. Our firefighters at the airport, they see a lot of fire because they're structural firefighters, so they see real fire. But there are airport firefighters out there that never do see a real fire in the real world because it's so infrequent with aircraft. So they require them to do that every year, so they're used to the real fire. Through some relationships built through different organizations that we belong to, we were able to go down to Punta Gorda and Charlotte County Fire and EMS built a multi-million-dollar training facility down there for aircraft rescue and firefighting. And we were their guinea pigs and their test class. So we got to go down there and do that training for free.
Nice.
In 2023, we're going to bring the mobile trainer back to Lakeland Airport. This is a big cost savings for us because we don't have to travel, don't have the overtime cost, and if we do go to Jacksonville or Charlotte County, we may have to have accommodations for overnight. It also allows us to use our vehicles and train on our trucks the way we would actually respond to an aircraft emergency. So one of our biggest challenges ahead of us, you probably have heard a lot about AFFF, or the aqueous film forming foam that has the PFAS in it, has been found to be carcinogenic, have some health issues, contaminated groundwater in a lot of places. So state of Florida says we can't use that anymore unless something is actually on fire. The foam that is on the ARF trucks is mandated by the FAA exactly what kind of foam you can have. It's got to go through a lot of testing. It's got to be approved by the Navy and by the FAA. So there's only certain foams we're allowed to use. And Congress mandated that the FAA by 2023 come up with a PFAS-free solution. And they have done that. And there is one foam on that approved list now that is PFAS-free. So we have to figure out how we're going to transition, or how are we going to get rid of the AFFF that we have now, clean our equipment so that the PFAS is all gone and doesn't come back, and then transition into this new PFAS-free foam. All right, with that, any questions?
Two questions. The 1,500 gallons and the new truck that's coming, is that all foam?
That is 1,500 gallons of water, and then there's a separate tank of 210 gallons of foam concentrate. And the truck, once we flip the foam switch, it automatically proportions it to the right percentage.
And the unique design of that truck and that front window and the spray apparatus, et cetera, how is that, and the high cost of the truck as a result, how does all that work together?
So those trucks can pump and roll, which our normal fire engines don't have the capability to do. So that truck can actually be moving and driving and articulating around an aircraft while putting agent out, and it can be operated with one person.
And when would they do water and when would they do foam?
So if it's a real event with real fire and a fuel spill, we're going to put foam down. Seldom would we use just water. There have been a couple occasions where we've went out and helped with a little grass fire or something like that on the airport. We just use water then. We also have Purple K, which is a dry chemical agent that we can select. We use those on a 3D fire where the fuel's dripping, and we need to put that out, and we can dispense that simultaneously with the water and foam through the main turret.
Interesting. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Maddox, Chief Riley. Just thank you for the update. It's good to hear what's happening out at the airport and the things specific to our fire department and just the unique training, all of the things that go into being prepared. And we certainly hope we never have an incident, but hearing more and kind of having a window into all of the things that you're doing, I think it's great. So thank you for coming and sharing that with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Music.
Two questions. One, and I assume I'm the only one that doesn't know the answer to this, but the engine 71, is that because it's the 71st engine that we've had?
Station 7.
Yeah.
So 7, and that's the first?
The one.
We have an engine that's engine 30 or engine 35. Is that numbered that because that is our engine?
So each station, the first number is what station it's at, and the second number is what type of truck it is. All of our engines are a 1, with the exception of engine 12, because there's 2 engines at station 1.
So then when we replace that, it just becomes the new one, and then the replacement just rolls down the line?
Correct.
Okay. And then when we have to replace all of the foam that's carcinogenic, is there money in there from a government agency to help with that?
Not as of yet. So I was just at a conference in Milwaukee this week, and that direct question was asked to the FAA. There may be some money through the FAA. They're waiting on the budget and the Reauthorization Act to be approved. And that was supposed to happen at the end of last week, but I haven't heard if there was any monies yet to replace that foam or not.
Thank you.
And is there a timer on that replacement?
Not in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Every state is different, and the FAA is not mandating that we replace it. They're just saying that we can't use AFFF anymore, or we can't buy it anymore and put new stuff in. So it's up to each state, and as of right now, Florida has not put a time on it.
Commissioner Simmons.
I also would like to thank the fire department for the excellent presentation. Just got a couple of questions, or at least one question. I noticed that you use different fire trucks or different vehicles for different scenarios. Could you explain just briefly what that's about?
Okay, I certainly can. So our crash truck, which that's not up there anymore, that you saw in the first video, first few trucks that's on the airport side, its main job and its design is to provide an exit path for the passengers coming off an aircraft that has either had a fuel spill or a fire or been involved in an accident. So they use that foam blanket to put down an exit path for those passengers to be able to get off that aircraft into safety. That's why it can pump and roll, and it can move around the aircraft. It's got a large area it might need to cover. The engines, they're mainly for pumping water. Sometimes they're referred to as pumpers. Their main job is extinguishing a fire. Again, they're different. They can't pump and roll. It's just the way they're made. You have to stop and set the brake and engage the pump and then put it back in gear, and it doesn't roll while it's pumping. So they're mainly used for structural firefighting or non-structural fires, that type of thing. Heavy Rescue Truck 73 is what we call a truck company. On structure fires and things like that, their operations do search and rescue and ventilation and things like that. Car accidents, they're the main truck with all the specialized equipment to help extricate people out of vehicles. They also do all of our USAR stuff is on those trucks. Between Truck 73 and Tower 15 are 2 truck companies. So, and then on an aircraft accident, they'll help with the extrication and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. At the airport, do we have hydrants out in the airport? I know you don't anticipate where a crash or something's going to be. I know where they have to be in the residential components, but do we have hydrants out in the middle of the by the runway areas?
There's not any in the middle of the runway, but there are a few on the perimeter that are inside the fence of the airport that we can get to.
How much hose we usually carry?
How much hose?
Oh, yes.
So there's, on the ARF truck itself, there's very little hose. There's a 100-foot reel that does a dual agent. On the other side, there's a 200-foot pre-connect, and I think a 2.5-inch on that one. And then we got a small piece of supply line because we're going to get close to the hydrant to resupply that truck. Our engines typically carry about 1,000 foot of supply hose to get from the fire hydrant to the fire. And then they'll have 200-foot pre-connects for going inside and fighting fire, and then they'll have larger 2.5-inch pre-connects for large fires.
Thank you.
You did not know you were going to get all these questions, and you are recertified, okay?
Glad I studied.
Good, thank you for those. Any other questions at all? Yes, Commissioner
Just really
McCarthy.
quick, thank you so much. This was very informative, as my other fellow commissioners have stated, but it's always good to hear from you all, and we really appreciate you, how diligent you are, and the trainings too, especially the one down in Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, that didn't cost us anything. That's amazing that you had that opportunity, so keep up the good work.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's it. Next, we're going to go to the Beautification Awards for the fiery plants around Lakeland, and that will be by Bill Cohen, the Commercial and Residential Award.
Good morning, everyone. Our first award will be the Residential Award for this month. This award goes to Ann and David Rubin, who reside at 2025 Benford Avenue. The house, let the picture come up first.
We're getting there. We ran ahead of you. I'm sorry.
Technical thing here. All right, it's coming up now. This is an interesting architectural style of this house, but the landscape itself features all kinds of fruit trees. You can see the beautiful silver Bismarck palm in the front yard. Just quite a number of butterfly attracting plants. Just a great collection of interesting plants, to say the least. And the yard, as you can see, is perfectly maintained. I couldn't even find a weed over there yesterday when I went over there, so they're doing a great job.
And he looks.
I think there's someone here to receive the award today? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes. Come on down.
Yeah, well.
Congratulations. Thank you. Would you like to make a comment with respect to who's in charge?
Well, it was a hot summer, I'll tell you that, but we've been working on it all summer, and we did all the work ourselves. I think one thing we're most proud of is that we don't use any pesticides, we don't use any power tools, we maintain everything by hand, so it takes a little bit extra effort, but we enjoy it. It makes it work fun weekend, so.
I was with you till the power tools.
Yeah, it's tough, especially cutting the grass, but it's, you learn a lot, so.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
already put a sign in the yard.
Okay, we're going this direction. Yeah. Exactly.
3, 2, 1.
Great job.
You see the camera? If you see Jay, just in case you slide in between.
Next up will be the commercial award, and this month it goes to Lakeland Christian School, which is located at 1111 Forest Park Street. They just put a fabulous new classroom up. You may have noticed it driving down Ariana, but they planted like 75 new trees, high-quality trees, but the campus itself is perfectly landscaped. I mean, you never see any weeds. All the entrances you can see have annual beds. It meets all of our codes as far as shrubbery, trees. Matter of fact, it's very heavily forested, to say the least, and it's just a great job of commercial landscaping. Is there anyone here to receive this award this morning?
They are.
Oh, great.
This is a wonderful Lakeland institution that continues to exemplify its excellence both internally as well as externally. It's a great job on that. Appreciate it so much. Who would like to speak on behalf of the school?
Thank you. It is really an honor to receive this recognition. We care a great deal about the aesthetics at our school. I don't know how many of you have read the work in mental health and the relationship of green space for student mental health. And so that's a big part of why we pay so much attention to the aesthetics, to the green space on our campus. It's been really encouraging to see it positively impact our kids.
Take a step over this way. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Always great to see
If anyone would like to nominate a commercial or residential property for a beautification award, just contact me at the city and we'll check it out. So thank you very much this morning.
Thank you so much for doing that, sir. This takes us from the presentations to our proclamation portion of the meeting, and the first one is going to be Fire Prevention Week. I guess I really should have just stayed out here. I apologize. We're going to bring up for this Fire Prevention Week the team, and so that will include Chief Riley, as well as our Fire Marshal Cheryl Edwards, and any other supporting staff that are here. Pat Brown, all those, yes, come on up. Proclamation together. What a great team, by the way. And let's start over on this side a little more. Yes. Let's go learn that. Whereas the city of Lakeland is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and those home fires killed more than 2,800 people in the United States in 2021, 2,880 people. According to the National Fire Protection Association, and the fire departments responded to an estimated 361,000 home structure fires. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to danger in the event of fire, in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported homes in half. And whereas Lakeland residents should be sure everyone in the home understands the sounds of the alarms and know how to respond, as well as making sure their smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And whereas Lakeland residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will be more likely to survive a fire. I remember my dad teaching me to do that when I was just a little lad. Whereas Lakeland fire responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education by providing Lakeland residents with public education measures, allowing residents to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, and especially in their homes. And whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, Pay Attention to Fire Prevention, serves to remind us the importance of knowing how to cook safely in our homes. Now, therefore, I, H. William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, alongside the enthusiastic support of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 8th through the 14th, 2023, as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Lakeland, Florida. And we urge all the residents of Lakeland to begin putting these available cooking safety guidelines into practice, beginning with Fire Prevention Week 2023, and to strongly support the public safety activities and other efforts of our Lakeland Fire Department. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of Lakeland to be affixed this second day of October 2023. And I have a little caveat here. I bought a little fire extinguisher for our kitchen in kind of light of this whole effort, and my wife took it the wrong way about, so make sure you explain this is for our safety, not cooking. Any comments, sir? I would defer to Cheryl.
Sure. Thank you. I just want to reiterate this year's theme is for cooking safety, and unattended cooking is still our leading cause of fires. It has been for my 30-year career. It's unattended cooking. So if you're in the kitchen cooking, please stay in the kitchen. If you need to leave the kitchen because something's in the oven or something, maybe set a timer, something audible to remind you to go back and check it. But stay in the kitchen when you're cooking. That's my biggest piece of advice. And then, of course, always ensure you have working smoke alarms in your home and have that plan of what to do. You still remember it from when you were a child.
That's right.
And that's why it is so important. And your children will usually do better than the adults, especially if they've had some sort of training. And, you know, we celebrate 1 week nationally for Fire Prevention Week, but we are actually out in this community every day doing fire prevention. And, you know, we just want to help highlight the week. It goes back to the Great Chicago Fire, is why we celebrate in October. And just remind everyone, you know, to think about your safety. People take it for granted. And
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. You're ready. Thank you very much, and thank you all for all you do.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just really quick, so my son learned his address because there was a little smoke from a pork chop at our house. And then he was about 4 at the time, and the fireman that came I wasn't unattended, it was just a bad night of cooking. And he got to hop into the truck, and he's like, Mom, it had our address and said burnt pork chops right next to it when they typed in the thing. So he still talks about how he learned our address, and it was because of the fireman that had to come. So, not that I recommend that.
All right. I'm sure we have a lot of stories, but you know, it's very interesting because I think about when I was a child, the number of home fires you would read about in the course of a month, it just wasn't uncommon to read about home fires, whereas today, it's very uncommon. And you think about all the advancements, both in the codes that protect us when we're building buildings, as well as the advancement in terms of the fire training and technique and awareness, has made it so much safer just in a single generation. And the Chicago fire was a tinderbox. You know, it was all wood, ready to go, with no real preparation to stop the fire. And what a horrible event, and reshaped the entire city and the city's history. So that's very interesting that it is pivots off this month. Well, next we're going to Lakeland, Florida Red Ribbon Month, which is all of the month of October. And here to accept that proclamation is Angie Ellison, the Executive Director of Wonderful Interact Alliance, and Samantha McCain, the Assistant Executive Director. They're going to have a race on the 28th, so we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I'm sure have some handouts. Good. Welcome, welcome. While they're passing, I'll start. Whereas substance abuse is the most common risk factor impacting youth and society, and prevention programs offered by Interact Alliance provide proven practical tools for reducing risk factors and strengthening protective factors. Fortunately, recent research shows that 83% of Polk County students in grades 6 through 12 have wisely chosen not to drink alcohol. And it's interesting because we don't think of that percentage as being that high. Whereas Interact Alliance have been providing prevention education to youth and adults in the Polk, Hardy, and Highlands County, communities since 1985, working diligently to reduce the abuse and underage use of harmful substances, along with involvement in risky behaviors through community awareness and involvement, prevention education, economic support, and leadership development. And whereas Interact Alliance serves as the fiscal agent for the Stand Up Polk, which is the adult-based, and Youth Impact, which is the youth-based coalitions for a drug-free Polk, and works in collaboration with the county and local law enforcement to provide prevention education programs and awareness events for youth and adults, medication take-back days, and established permanent prescription depositories to safely and properly dispose of unused medications. And whereas the 38th annual Red Ribbon campaign will be highlighted during the Red Ribbon Run and Challenge presented by Interact Alliance, along with title sponsor Publix Supermarkets on Saturday, October 28th, 2023, providing a community event in which elementary and middle school students participate in a race heats, and families can run or walk in a family run around picturesque Lake Mirror, which would then be the Christmas parade lake later in December, and participate in weekly online health challenges during October to support prevention education, anti-bullying, and encourage healthy life choices. Now therefore, I, H. William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 2023 as Lakeland, Florida's Red Ribbon Month. And we encourage every citizen to wear a red ribbon to symbolize our commitment to healthy and safe environments for each citizen, and to participate in events during October and throughout the year that support positive, healthy lifestyles. So, any comments, Angie?
I just want to thank the city. The run especially couldn't happen without all of your help. And we also have enjoyed so many years of support that we just couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. And I hope you all get a red ribbon and wear it, because every time a child sees a red ribbon or some symbol that we care about them, it reinforces that they should care about themselves and make good choices.
And Angie, how many years have you been director?
21.
So think of that. She's done this job for 21 years. That's awesome. Thank you.
So if you want, you give the presentation. Okay, there we go. I'll do that. Great. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Good to see you always.
Mr. Mayor?
And then we have a comment from Commissioner Music.
Yeah, my kids have run that since they were little kids, and my daughter's now in college on a track scholarship, and I don't know that there's a relation there, but there may be. So we have always appreciated the work done by you all. So.
Excellent, excellent. Next, we are going to have a great celebration because this is Lakeland Police Athletic League's 30th anniversary day, October 2nd, 2023, and that's today. So we're going to have all the Associated PAL folks come down for this, which will include our Chief of Police, Sammy Taylor, as well, and the PAL staff and volunteers. So come on down, please. This is a fabulous organization of committed people that make a difference in the lives of thousands. So I'll tighten up here. I'm feeling it. Whereas the Lakeland Police Athletic League, PAL, has continued as a beacon of hope, community support, and positive youth development for the past 3 decades. And whereas tirelessly bridges the gap between law enforcement and our city's youth, fostering mutual respect, trust and understanding. And whereas PAL provides hundreds of opportunities for our young citizens to engage in sports, mentorship, and character-building activities that empower them to reach their full potential. And whereas PAL has consistently strived to create a safe and nurturing environment where young people develop essential life skills, build lasting friendships, cultivate a sense of responsibility and civic pride. And whereas PAL's dedicated staff, volunteers, and community partners have shown unwavering commitment to our city's youth, investing their time, energy, and resources to make our community a better place. And whereas this year, 2023, we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Lakeland Police Athletic League and reflect on the myriad of success stories and positive impacts this organization has had on the lives of young people throughout our city. Now, therefore, I, H. William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, alongside the grateful enthusiasm of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 2nd, 2023 as Lakeland Police Athletic League 30th Anniversary Day. And we recognize PAL's exceptional service to our community and commend its unwavering dedication to empowering youth, fostering private positive relationships between law enforcement and the community, and creating a brighter future of hope for all city residents. Furthermore, all residents are urged to celebrate the PAL 30 years of excellence and support this vital organization which profoundly impacts our young citizens' lives. And therefore I set my seal. Who should be the holder of this today? All right, there you go. And it all together.
First off, I want to say thank you to the board, commissioner, and the police department. I thank y'all for taking back over this. And it's been a great run for me, myself, my friends, staff. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Sergeant Rex, Chief. It's been wonderful. I just can't say enough about this program. I love it, and thank you.
I just want to take this time to acknowledge that PAL would be nothing without our volunteers. And there are three special people here today that have been with us since the 90s. Serving since 1993, Levi Highsmith, Coach Levi Highsmith. He continues to serve today. Serving since 1993, Coach Ralph Johnson, and he retired just last year in 2022. Serving since 1998, Andrew McAllister Jr., and he is retiring this year. Allegedly, he says that every year, but I'm pretty sure we can convince him to come back.
This is an organization that makes such a difference in lives, as you know, and we are so grateful for the impacts that you provide. When we think about mentoring and influence, we think about something that takes decades, and you don't see the fruit of your work many times for decades. In fact, sometimes you see people you think didn't have any fruit from your work, and then you find out later that it kicks in, you know, and that's part of growth, that's part of life, and that's part of patience. But you're immensely grateful for the investments you make to make that possible. Thank you so much. Any comments, Chief?
You know, and 30 years ago when Sergeant Len Adams started PAL under former Chief Sam Baca, I think we were one of 3 PALs in the county. I think we're the last one standing now here in Polk County. And the fact that these guys have continued on, there's been many executive directors that have come through. At one point had Sergeant Rex's job. I'm not near as good looking as Sergeant Rex is, so he's much handsomer than I am, does a better job, quite frankly, than I ever thought about doing. But we were big in baseball back then, but now we've expanded to football, cheerleading, archery. There's a whole myriad of things that we do that 30 years ago, Sergeant Adams, and then I never even thought about getting into. So these guys, as the mayor said, we don't see the fruits of our labor, and sometimes it may take 30 years, but we actually have PAL kids that are police officers now that came through the PAL program. So, and that's a testament to the folks that have worked so hard and try to touch these folks and get involved in these kids' lives at an early point. So thank you for the job you guys do every day, and I certainly appreciate you.
All right, time for a picture.
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Reed, this is good. I love this today. We've got all this, but we're breaking open here for you to be seen.
How many participants we have in the program this year?
So
Our football, we have 5 different programs. So currently, we are maxed out in football at just at 170, which is, we're up from 100 last year. Cheerleading, we're at 80, which doubled from last year. And archery, we're at 50. And then we're also doing an additional 25 after school at a local elementary school too. Fishing, we're at about 30. And then mentoring, we're starting back up. Mentoring is somewhere in between 10 to 30 every Wednesday.
Thank you.
Here, I'll do and take that.
All right, so I'm gonna get y'all set up. This side, scoot forward and slide this way, everybody else behind them. Forward.
In between shoulders, in between shoulders.
Three or more, when is in the front?
There you go, yeah, move over, there you go.
One more. 3, 2, 1.
I could see. Whenever there's more than 5, you just need to walk down there with Bill and just.
Well, they're talking on
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Lord.
I would like to say that that these men and women are doing a great job helping the youth in the community. I pass by there and I see the cheerleading, I see the football. I don't see the archery. I need to probably go in there, but I think I know they're doing a great job. And as I was coming in, I saw some of them, and Mr. Johnson back there, Ralph Johnson, I remember him way back when I was a kid, and he was the swimming instructor. And it's good to see that, and I just heard him say that he's retiring. I hope he's not, but it's wonderful to know that someone who has invested in the lives of young people have done it for so long, and that they're still doing it. And they're doing a great job for our young people. I'd rather see them in football and cheerleading than doing anything that's negative. So I know they're doing a great job.
All right, well, next we go to our final proclamation, which is White Cane Safety Day. And this is here to accept the proclamation are Cheryl Brown, who's been an employee of Lighthouse for the Blind and Low Vision, and Kristen Meter, City of Lakeland Public Works ADA Specialist, who has replaced Jenny Sykes. And so that those of you who haven't met Kristen have an opportunity to be able to do that. And Mickey Brown. Whereas on October 6th, 1964, a joint resolution of Congress was signed into law authorizing the President of the United States to proclaim October 15th of each year as White Cane Safety Day. And whereas the White Cane Law was created to ensure the right to travel independently using a white cane or guide dog wherever a person who is blind or has visual impairments chooses to go. And whereas the white cane is a practical mobility tool and also serving as a symbol of dignity, freedom, and independence for individuals who are blind or have visual impairments, and on White Cane Safety Day, our nation celebrates the immeasurable contributions individuals who are blind and have visual impairments have made as valued members of our diverse country. And whereas the City of Lakeland supports a continuing commitment to greater accessibility for all citizens and visitors with its core goal of honoring everyone, and will continue to strive to provide and enhance accessibility programs and services to the community. And whereas the Lakeland Alliance for Accessibility serves to support the city's efforts to enhance accessibility and self-respect for all citizens and visitors. Now therefore, I, H. William Mutz, alongside the entire City Commission of Lakeland, do hereby proclaim October 15th, 2023 as White Cane Safety Day in the city of Lakeland. And we encourage all citizens to use this day as an annual reminder to seize the opportunities we can to embrace and improve awareness and financial support of the next most important means to improve the accessibility for all these citizens. And so who would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Darlene, and I just wanted to thank everyone who's here and the city and Mayor Muntz for this proclamation for White Cane Safety Day. We're very grateful, especially with the growing number of people with visual impairments. When I grew up in Polk County, I always thought that, okay, if you're born blind, that's terrible. You know, wow, that poor person, as I grew up with sight. And then as I became a teenager, and unfortunately I got into a car accident, and I learned the hard way that just because you didn't go blind at birth doesn't mean you may not go blind throughout your life, which I did from that car accident. I lost all my vision. And as we age in life, more people aging, their vision changes and lose vision from that as well. So for all the people who are cane users and guide dog users throughout Polk County and Lakeland, I just wanted to thank you all from the Alliance for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. That's awesome. And an awesome story and impact.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Powerful. All right, that brings us then to our meeting, and we'll open our meeting with the consent agenda, and that includes the minutes that you see on page 1 there, as well as the asterisk items on page 3 of your
Move for
agenda.
approval of the consent agenda?
Second.
Any discussion by commissioners? Any discussion or questions by any members of the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. We do not have any requests to appear from the general public, and those are requests, by the way, just for purposes of explanation, that are arranged in advance through the city manager. We always have at the end of the meeting a opportunity for audience participation to be able to meetings. We'll cease to meet now as a commission and then begin to meet as an equalization board, and that opens us up to the lots cleaning and clearing list for the month, and that is City Attorney Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city charter requires that the city commission convene as an equalization board prior to imposing a special assessment lien against private property when the city has had to go out and then mow or otherwise clean off private property and has incurred costs in doing so. The role that is under consideration for adoption this morning is being scrolled on the overhead screens. So if you have received a notice to appear this morning relating to a lots cleaning and clearing issue, this is your opportunity to address the city commission and ask any questions about that you might have or object to the imposition of lien against your property.
Do we have anyone in the audience that has something that on this that are represented on this list? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Motion to approve in a second by Commissioner Reed. A discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Who's here from the city on this reference to this issue? I see the property at 302 East Belvedere Street.
Yes.
They've had a lot of fines accumulate there. I presume, I know it looks like the roof is caving in as well. Can you give me an update or what there's what might be going on with that property?
That's correct. So there are a number of violations on this property due to the unsafe conditions of it. So I believe there is also a housing open violation on the property. And this particular property, we have received a lot of input from the public and nearby residents on the condition. And I know that those residents have been communicating with the city attorney's office, looking at options for either encouraging the property owner to come into compliance or some other means of just seeing the property overall improved. And I don't know if Palmer at this time would want to
Sure, the Code Enforcement Board's order authorizes our office, the city attorney's office, to institute foreclosure actions against that. And we are in the process of doing the title work to move in that direction. So that is moving in that direction.
It's a beautiful area and a beautiful home. It just needs some care, I think. But thank you very much.
Any other questions or?
I've got a question.
Yes, Commissioner Simmons.
Palmer, how long does that process normally take?
How long does it take? It depends on whether the property owner contests it or not. If they don't contest it, it would probably be 3 or 4 months. If they do contest it, it can go on for a while.
Thank you.
Any other input? Any from the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes as a complete list. We'll cease to meet as an equalization board and now reconvene as a commission, and that brings us to public hearings, B1 under resolutions.
B1 is proposed resolution number 23-052, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, authorizing approval of utility work orders pursuant to a master agreement between the Florida Department of Transportation and the City of Lakeland in order to authorize Florida Department of Transportation contractors to modify, relocate, and reconstruct city-owned utility facilities located in and along State Road 33, which is Lakeland Hills Boulevard, making findings, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion approved in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Seeing none, any comments from any members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
Next is proposed resolution number 23-053, a resolution relating to assessments, determining the necessity for having cleaned and cleared certain properties within the city of Lakeland, providing for the assessment of liens against such property for expenses incurred in the cleaning and clearing thereof, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Seeing none, any members of the audience? It's a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Number 3.
3 is proposed resolution number 23-054, a resolution relating to elections, delegating certain administrative duties to the city clerk, appointing the city clerk and deputy city clerk as members of the canvassing board for a limited purpose, making findings, providing an effective date.
Move for approval?
Second.
Discussion by commissioners. Any discussions or questions by any members of the audience? Seeing none, it's a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
Next is proposed resolution number 23-055, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, authorizing the purchase of vehicles and equipment for use by various city departments in the performance of municipal services in an amount not to exceed $3 million, authorizing the appropriate city officials to execute all documents and take all actions required in connection with such purchase, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
And discussion by commissioners? Hearing none, any members of the audience? We had that listing attached. Seeing none.
Mayor,
Commissioner-
can we have them come give us a little in-date update on what they're trying to do in this particular area so people will know?
You would like to have
Mr. James, I guess, or
Mr. talk about what and
the
what?
acquisition of what they're going to try to do for this. This is right away
Okay.
between the,
I think that's the next one. You're talking about
The next one.
the eminent domain?
We're not there. We're on city vehicles. City vehicles.
well, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of you. I'm one ahead of you. I'm sorry. I'm talking about number 5.
Mr. James didn't know what to do on city vehicles, so it was really important.
He was trying, though.
That's right. Okay. It's a roll call vote then. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
All right, next is proposed resolution number 23-056, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, approving the route of Lakeland Park Center Drive from Union Drive to Carpenter's Way for the purpose of improving, expanding, maintaining, and operating Lakeland Park Center Drive and related utilities and other, approving the acquisition of interest in real property located along the route by gift, purchase, or eminent domain, authorizing written offers, authorizing condemnation of the property described herein, authorizing the institution of eminent domain proceedings, authorizing staff to make binding determinations regarding the construction plans, making findings, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any discussion or questions by commissioners? Why don't we have a presentation by Mr. James? And then we can entertain any other comments from the audience. This is such an important link that it's really important for us, for you to see it. And that's why Commissioner Reed is interested in making certain we do.
Good morning, Greg James, Assistant Director of Public Works. This item is authorizing us to use eminent domain in order to finish acquiring right-of-way for the Lakeland Park Center Drive connector. As you see on this screen, we completed the reconstruction of Lakeland Park Center Drive, which used to be called Crevasse, between 98 and Union Drive back in 2014. Just this January, we opened the eastern leg, which is Carpenter's Way to Lakeland Park Drive, or where Cracker Barrel is, and then with the redevelopment.
The orange part, right?
Pardon?
The orange part of that.
Correct, yes,
Right.
Thank you. And then the green highlights the section that we have remaining. And so we had originally planned to construct that portion with the eastern leg of the corridor, but we ran into a 21, we didn't run into it, but we found a 21-inch pipeline that we, at that time, couldn't design around because of cost. But with the redevelopment of the golf course, this now provides the opportunity for us to close this leg. So we're trying to go through and complete right-of-way acquisition now, which is primarily the golf course, former golf course property, and then there's 4 other pieces of property that to the west end that need to be acquired. And then we just need to get subsequent design funding and construction funding, and hopeful that we could have this ready to open around 2026.
And that 21-inch pipeline was a jet fuel pipeline, correct?
It's a natural gas pipeline.
Natural gas.
Florida Gas Transmission.
Oh, that's Florida Gases, okay, right.
This resolution addresses these 2 parcels that are outlined in orange. Interstate 4 is to the bottom right, Union Drive to your left, and then the unimproved, or the need to be improved portion of Lakeland Park Center Drive just south of there. These 2 properties will be used for roadway and stormwater. Our stormwater pond for this section of the project will be located on these properties. This is a photo looking east from Union Drive. This will be looking from the properties back to the west towards 98 North. This is one of the residences on the easternmost parcel. And then the residence on the westernmost. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Reed.
Yes, sir.
We've made a deal basically with the golf course right of way.
We're working with that staff between community development and public works, or working with the developer on what that amount needs to be and where. And so those discussions continue.
We don't anticipate eminent domain on those, on that piece, do we?
Pardon?
We don't anticipate eminent domain on those parcels.
No, we don't.
And, you know, this is always our ditch effort to acquire property. You work wonderfully well at not trying to do this, so you might want to comment on that.
Thank you. Yes, this is our the last resort when we go into trying to acquire property. I've been doing right-of-way for the city of Lakeland, from electric utilities to roadway, for I think it's probably around 30 years now. And we've done real well and been able to negotiate with property owners, as well as mediation has been a really good tool for us to use, where we're able to use a third-party mediator to try to help bring the 2 sides to closure. I think in all my years, I think we've only had 5 cases that have had to go to a jury trial.
Wow. Wonderful. And that is the spirit of the city, because we limit it to those times where it is for the greater good, and there isn't any other way to get through there. But it's difficult always for the people who live there. And so we have great empathy for that, but also a great need, and our goal is to take care of it.
Correct.
All right, any other comments by commission? Any members of the audience? This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes. Thank you very much.
Next is proposed resolution number 23-057, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, expressing the intent to dissolve the Lakeland Public Employees Relations Commission, directing the city attorney or designee to provide notice of said intent to the State of Florida Public Employees Relations Commission, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Alex, you might want to come up and just talk about why this is important, so it doesn't appear to be a disinterest in our employees at any level, but a congruency with state.
Certainly. Good morning, Alex Lamback, Assistant City Attorney. This resolution relates to what is pretty much a holdover for us with the Lakeland Public Employees Relations Commission, which was formed by ordinance in 1974. In 1979, the state of Florida repealed the section of the law that allowed each local government to have this local option where we've been grandfathered in, and over time, that number has dwindled in terms of local governments that have this program. And right now we're down to 3, which is Palm Beach, Pinellas County, and the City of Lakeland that still have this. Otherwise, everything runs through Tallahassee and their board, and they're fully staffed and capable, and they do this stuff every day. We haven't utilized our local option in many years, and for the most part, everything seems to run through Tallahassee with us anyway. And so this is really just kind of allowing us to transfer jurisdiction and just kind of make this official in terms of going forward with that.
Any questions by any members of the audience? Not seeing any. All those, this is roll call. Commissioner McLeod.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimously passes. Thank you very much.
Next is proposed resolution 058, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, authorizing execution of an amended grant agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation to add funding for security enhancements and upgrades at Lakeland Linder International Airport, adopting findings, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion approved in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or question by any members of the audience? Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Unanimously passes. And before you go on, sir, I need to drop back to, because I did say after with Mr. James' presentation, I would offer comments from any members of the audience, and I did not do so. So other comments by anybody in the audience with respect to post Mr. James' comments on Carpenter's Way? Okay, great. I just want to make sure I clear that up. My conscience would bother me otherwise. All right, so that brings us to 7.
Number
8.
I think we're on 8. Proposed resolution number 23-059, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, authorizing execution of a grant agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation, providing for state and local funding for the replacement of the automated weather observation system at Lakeland Linder International Airport, adopting findings, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
In a second by Commissioner Music. Okay, discussion by commissioners. Seeing none by any members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
Last is proposed resolution number 23-061, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, authorizing execution of a grant agreement with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, providing funding for the construction of a water education center at the City of Lakeland's 7 wetlands facility, authorizing an appropriation and increase in estimated revenue in the city's wastewater renewal and replacement fund in the amount of $950,000, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner McCarley and a second by Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or questions by members of the audience who enthusiastically received this opportunity?
Bill, I just like to say, you know, we're this project's about, what, $1.1 million, so we're getting $950,000 from the state, so it's a big contribution from that standpoint.
You bet. $1.2 million. Right. Any other comments? All right, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Unanimously passes because I'm an aye as well. All right, that brings us to Community Redevelopment Agency, and we have no business for that agency today. So city manager, and we have our deputy city manager, Emily Cologne, filling in for our vacation taking Sean Terraus. So item A.
Okay, so this is a recommendation to award a purchase order to Infrastructure Management Services LLC for pavement and sidewalk assessments. The last pavement sidewalk assessments were conducted by IMS in 2020, and historically the survey of our road system occurs every 3 years to support the 5-year future road maintenance planning and execution of the pavement plan. This is the assessment the city uses to determine our PCR or our pavement condition index for its roads, and the sidewalk assessment will provide the city with the data needed to ensure its sidewalks comply with American Disabilities Act, or the ADA. This is piggybacking the Volusia County contract 16P154IF, and this work is budgeted in the Transportation Fund Capital Improvement Plan. Staff recommends the City Commission approve the award of the purchase order to IMS in the amount of $228,120.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, and discussion or questions by commissioners. Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Heath, I was wondering, do we kind of have an idea of what comes back in this assessment, general sense of the condition of sidewalk and pavement?
Good morning, Heath Frederick, Public Works Director. Your question is what information we get back?
Just going into this assessment, we had it 3 years ago. Do you and your team, do you already have a sense of what will come back, or there are typically a lot of surprises, and just trying to understand more of where we are right now before we go into the assessment?
There's typically not a lot of surprises that we get. We manage our roads in-house. We look at our roads, we know what happens on our roadways, but sometimes we do get some surprises, I would say. We find bases that are failing that we weren't aware of in the past. But this plan helps us plan our future paving. It tells us if our roads are bad, good, or better. So it helps us establish our maintenance plan. But normally we don't find any big issues.
Okay.
But sometimes we do.
Yeah, that's helpful. It seems critically important that we do this every 3 years, and so just wondering, historically, do we have times where we didn't expect that, but I would think as we're tracking throughout the years, we kind of have a handle on what the report will find.
Sure, we also do different type of treatments that prolong our roads, so we're able to see how those are holding up, so it gives us a lot of really good information for the planning of our roadways.
Is there value in this being, just to take a little bit from Commissioner McLeod's question, is there value to this being a third party instead of it being our own internal assessment?
Yes, we don't have the technology in-house to do that. If we did, we would do it.
Okay.
This just provides us that baseline for our roadways. There is some new technology that's out there that we're considering, we're looking at, we may move it that way in the future, and that gives us daily information on our roadways and our systems, so we are looking at that. We may move to that in the near future.
Okay. That's interesting to know, and it'd be nice to get caught up on it when you kind of find where you're going, either pro or con.
Yeah, the technology is a little bit newer, so we're just kind of making sure we understand it and we pick the right.
And not stay on the bleeding front edge.
Absolutely.
That's very wise. Any other comments by commissioners or questions? Any members of the audience? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Item B.
Okay, item B is a recommendation to award of bid number 2023 ITB 053 to Rycars Construction LLC for the RP Funding Center Jenkins Arena roof replacement project, and authorize an appropriation and increase in estimated revenue in the Hurricane Ian Disaster Fund in the amount of $2,650,000. The city issued a request for bid due to the roof's age, leaks throughout the building, and damage sustained from Hurricane Ian. This project includes all labor, material, equipment, supervision, and administration to integrate the work outlined in the project construction documents and specifications. The city's purchasing department received 5 bids. Together, the city's engineering consultant, Gale Associates Incorporated, staff evaluated the 2 lowest bids, contacted the references, reviewed the bids and schedule of values, and determined that Rycars Construction LLC is the lowest responsible bidder and complies with the scope of work and project requirements. Purchasing issued a notice of intent to award on July 31st, 2023. Funding for this project is provided by the city's property insurance through a claim for Hurricane Ian damages, less a total deductible of the amount of $629,123. The city will seek reimbursement from FEMA for eligible deductible amounts. Insurance coverage is also providing $500,000 as an advance for the damage claim. Any remaining balance will be paid at completion to the roof project. Staff recommends the City Commission authorize this award to Rycars Construction LLC for the above stated amount for the RP Funding Center Jenkins Arena Roof Replacement Project. Authorize the appropriate city officials to execute the contract and authorize the appropriation and increase in estimated revenue.
Move for approval?
Motion to approve in a second.
Second.
And discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or questions by members of the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
Okay, item C is a recommendation regarding task authorization with RJR Contractor LLC for fence and gate installations at the Lakeland Linder International Airport. Lakeland Linder International Airport task authorization to replace 4,850 linear feet of fencing, 13,950 linear feet of barbed wire, and install 4 gates along the Lakeland Linder. Fencing gates selected for replacement include those sections of the airport that no longer meet TSA or Transportation Security Administration security directive requirements.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion approved in a second, and this is an alignment with really FAA standards, just to bring us into compliance overall, and that tightens us up across the airport in doing so. Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Thank you.
Okay, item D is a recommendation for a task authorization with Miller Electric Company for gate camera installations and controller replacements at the Lakeland Linder International Airport to install additional cameras and replace 16 gate and door controllers across the airport that are no longer supported by the city's computer-controlled access system. This task authorization is in the amount of $143,083.31. It's on continuing contract, and it is an 80-20 split with Florida Department of Transportation Public Transportation Grant and the Airport Fund. Staff recommends the approval of the task authorization with Miller Electric Company in this above stated amount.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reed and seconded by Commissioner Music, and this is the continuation of that same compliance. Any discussion by any members of the audience or a commission?
I've got a question.
Yes, Commissioner Simmons.
With regard to the cameras, does this cover the entire area of the airport? I'm just wondering what.
We'll have an official answer for you in a second.
Chris Hallstrand, Airport Director. It covers a large portion of the airport, is getting covered as we add cameras throughout time, but it's usually over gates or looking at facilities or those types of things.
You know, I probably shouldn't have asked that in this public forum, right?
No, I actually did not give the window for commission first, so you're absolutely appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions with respect to that, Commissioner Simmons?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from either group? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. And that ends our city manager, unless you have any oral contributions, okay? And that we go back to city attorney for A1.
We have several ordinances for first reading this morning. They will be read by title only today, and we'll come back for a public hearing and consideration of adoption, public comment on October 16th. The first is proposed ordinance number 23-036, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 4773 as amended to provide for a major modification to PUD, plan unit development zoning, to allow a freestanding emergency room on property located at 1075 Carpenter's Way, providing conditions, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 23-037, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, providing for a change in zoning from MF22 multifamily residential to O1 low impact office on approximately 1.17 acres located south of East Lemon Street and east of Tyler Avenue. That's 1303 East Lemon Street. Providing conditions, finding conformity of the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 23-038, an ordinance relating to zoning, adopting findings, providing for C1 pedestrian commercial district zoning on approximately 0.28 acres located at 1050 Sharon Drive, providing conditions, finding conformity of the comprehensive plan, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 23-039, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 4630 to modify an existing conditional use to allow a 1,017 square foot addition to an existing church office building and a food pantry along with support services for the elderly on property located at 1123 Alejandra Avenue, finding conformity of the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 23-040, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to allow for the conversion of an existing single-family detached dwelling to a two-family dwelling, a duplex, on property located at 838 East Peachtree Street, finding conformity of the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. And last is proposed ordinance number 23-041, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to allow a two-family dwelling, a duplex, on property located at 814 North Vermont Avenue, finding conformity of the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Again, these will come back for a public hearing and public comment on October 16th.
And that brings us to item 6B, and we have 4 consent items in there. So the first non-consented is item B2.
Good morning, Alex Laneback for the City Attorney's Office. This item is for B2, which is an annual purchase of Pebble Lime for the Water Utilities Department. This proposal is from LaHoist North America for the annual supply of Pebble Lime for the city's Water Utilities Department. It's used in the TB Williams and CW Cumbie water treatment plants for water stabilization and hardness removal. The city's estimated annual usage of Pebble Lime for both treatment facilities is 1,950 tons, subject to water demand. In order to procure the necessary Pebble Lime, the city issued an ITB for fiscal year 24, with the bid allowing for 5 one-year renewals upon mutual agreement. The city received 2 bids in response, and based upon prior experience and costs, city staff evaluated the bids and determined that LaHoist North America was the most responsible bidder. The total estimated annual cost for the city's annual usage for FY24 is $897,000, which is included in Water Utilities FY24 budget. It is recommended the City Commission approve the proposal for the purchase of the city's annual supply of Pebble Lime and authorize appropriate city officials to execute all necessary documents to finalize the purchase.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
And a second?
Second.
All right, discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or questions by members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Item 3.
Next item is a task authorization with Tetra Tech for engineering services for the U.S. Highway 98 South Interconnect Water Main Extension. This proposal is for engineering services under the city's continuing contract for professional engineering services with Tetra Tech. The purpose of this task authorization is to perform engineering design work associated with the extension of 2,600 linear feet of 16-inch potable water main near the intersection of Bartow Road and County Road 540A in unincorporated Polk County. The proposed water main will connect the City of Lakeland's water distribution system with water utilities in the city of Bartow and Polk County. Presently, there's no potable water main connectivity there at that location. And this extension aims to enhance water reliability for all related utilities, including especially during emergencies. The proposed scope of work for this engineering will result in drawings and project manual and allow the city to retain a contractor to perform the construction work. It will also include easement acquisition that will be necessary for the construction of the required pipeline. All services performed pursuant to this task authorization will be performed pursuant to the continuing agreement for municipal engineering services approved by the City Commission on October 1, 2021. The total not to exceed cost for this task authorization is $295,325, which is included in Water Utilities FY24 budget. It is recommended the City Commission approve this task authorization with Tetra Tech and authorize appropriate city officials to execute all necessary documents.
Move for approval. Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion or questions by commissioners? Commissioner Reed.
Why was this particular vendor chosen to do this authorization?
Well, we do have a contract, a continuing contract with Tetra Tech for continuing services, but I'll let Robbie Kinnis from Water Utilities kind of expand on that.
And Robbie, too, if you could also include the importance of interconnects and how that works as our grid.
Robbie Kness, Engineering Manager for Water Utilities. Tetra Tech has already been hired by the county to do the actual interconnect that's between the church and the 7-Eleven and everything that's down on that corner. So just for simplicity and keeping with a company that's already aware of it, and they're on our continuing contract, we went out to them to issue a task authorization for them to run the line down to tie into that interconnect. We have some water lines in the area, but the importance of this is to be able to also serve Bartow and Polk County if there needs to be any reliability, or we may have our own break in that area. And once an interconnect is there, we could all transmit water back and forth. Whoever's out of service, the others would benefit. And then the last piece, this is in a way tied into the Polk Regional Water Cooperative, and the likelihood of us wheeling water to Bartow or Polk County is pretty high as we build those wells up at the Thomas B. Williams Water Plant. It'll go into our system there, and then whoever's connected to us can take water from us. So this is really the way for that portion of Polk County or Bartow to get their water, unless they build a separate pipeline. That there are some discussions about doing that. That will come from Lake Wales all the way up to this area.
Thank you. I knew we had local vendors also that on continuing contract, but I didn't know why we use this particular one. But thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions? Commissioner Music.
No, actually, that's a good question. I appreciated those answers.
Any comments or questions by members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. And that brings us to item 6.
Good morning. Ramona Sirianni for the City Attorney's Office. This item is the third amendment to the professional services agreement with American Traffic Solutions doing business as Vera Mobility for the provision of red light cameras and citation processing services. The city currently has 18 red light cameras located at 11 intersections. Pursuant to this third amendment, we are seeking to extend the existing agreement that we have with Vera Mobility for a period of 5 years, and that would have a retroactive effective date of October 1st, 2023, and continue for a period of 5 years, and also provide for an additional two additional consecutive 2-year terms upon mutual written agreement of the parties. As well, there's some other components of this third amendment. One of those items is the relocation of the red light camera located at the intersection of Beacon Road and northbound South Florida Avenue. That particular, you heard a presentation about a month ago from LPD, specifically Chad Mumbauer, who did a presentation on crash data that was presented and some other items in terms of summarizing the program, where it's been, where it's going. One of the items that was addressed there was this relocation of the camera at Beacon in South Florida. One of the reasons for moving that is because the new upgraded technology can't be supported in that location due to the way the building is located on the property and various other, the driveway and the roadway. So staff is recommending that red light camera be relocated to the intersection of Kathleen Road and the westbound approach of George Jenkins Boulevard. And again, that was based on traffic crash data provided by City Traffic Operations. Vera Mobility will also provide the city with technology upgrades for 2 of the city's legacy camera systems, one of which will be that relocated camera system, as well as the new red light camera location. Again, you heard in the presentation there was a recommendation to add a new red light camera, and that would be located at North Florida Avenue and the southbound approach of East Parker Street. Again, that was based on traffic crash data that was provided by the city's traffic operations group. The monthly fee per camera system for the 14 of the existing installed red light cameras, and that includes the 2 upgraded systems as well as the new red light camera location, it will be maintained at the current rate of $4,250 per camera per month, so there's no increase in fees that we had been paying for the previous 5 years. And as we go into the new contract, Vera has also agreed to continue to provide a discounted fee for the light cameras, which is $2,375 per month per camera, with the exception of the 1 new increase for administering the camera program as it exists today. Other additional pursuant to the Third Amendment is staff is a subcontractor Flock to assist LPD in deterring and reducing crime throughout the fee for the ALPR cameras. They're seeking to purchase of them is $200. There's $300 fee our camera for installation costs of the pole, construction permitting, $57,000 or $285,000 over the 5-year term of the agreement. Costs for the ALPR camera be funded from the revenue generated camera program, and except as set forth in this amendment, all of the other terms and conditions contained in the agreement would remain the same. So we were recommending that the City Commission with Vera as from staff, the red light camera locations, and to purchase of the ALPR camera.
Move to approve.
Second.
From Commissioner Simmons. I want to make a comment on this, and because I think this is so important. When we think about quality of life in our city and making sure we're advancing public safety, this is a key area for us to not have the cost of the 8 or more officers that would take to do this same impact that we'd have an expense in, and not necessarily 100% of the time for providing safety and intersections where once you get a red light camera ticket, the repeat offenses are very, very few. And the opposite's true. If I can get away with going through a red light once in a while and I'm on my way to work, I might do that with some frequency over time. And so it is a change of behavior. And in addition, for the safety of our citizens to be able to have the license plate reading cameras, so that when it is necessary that we have the capacity to be able to work on criminal activity and surveillance way, that adds to the security of people that live in our city. When I see it referred to as LPD increasing surveillance, it's a little disappointing to me. This is not LPD increasing surveillance other than in a way that it is very positive for the people in our city to have protection and safety and not T-bone accidents and criminal activity. And so this is and by the way, with no out-of-pocket cost to the taxpayers at all. This is a self-funding program. So when you get those kinds of gains without the additional expense that doesn't have 100% coverage time-wise, to me to think about it as anything but positive is a mistake, because it is a wonderful enhancement to our public safety and quality of life, from my perspective.
And to your point, Mr. Mayor, I want to point out as well with regard to the red light camera fees, in the event that the fees would exceed the revenue collected, we wouldn't owe anything on that. So this is simply that we would not have to pay additional fees, out-of-pocket costs, if we didn't generate the sufficient revenue to cover those costs as well. So.
Correct. And Chief Taylor, I don't know if you want to add anything to that at all. I think it'd be important for you to weigh in if you could.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning, morning, Chief Taylor, Lakeland Police Department. I echo what you say, Mayor. I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's part of the mosaic that we try to create is for safety within the city. Just like we had PAL up here this morning as far as the prevention part of it, there's also a part of the red light cameras. There's a myriad of things that we do every single day to keep the city safe. And I'm a very big believer in the red light cameras. I'm also a big believer in these LPRs. During my time as a detective, I would have wished we'd have had this sort of technology. It's a force multiplier for us at really no cost. So I'm a very big supporter of both of these amendments.
Commissioner Music.
Yeah, and I don't agree. I wished I would have been here on Friday. I was out with my daughter's surgery because I would have liked to have seen these split. I look at them as two different items personally. In fact, not too long ago, I was on the Polk Parkway and got pulled over by a license plate reader with the county sheriff because my tag was out of date because it was a company vehicle, and so I was thinking of my birthday, and I just over missed it and went and got it re-registered. So the license plate readers and the logic behind that, I don't struggle with as much as I do with the red light cameras, and have, read plenty about it, the offenses and the things of that nature. I like the revenue that it brings, but I'm just not for that. So we'll be voting no because of that. And I do wish that it was a split item because I like being able to respond. I like so many things about the license plate readers, but I can't reconcile both of those together. So I just wanted to add that.
Commissioner Simmons.
Chief, how you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you.
I like what you said about the quality of life with regard to the red light cameras, and in particular, the fact that those who get tickets through these red light cameras often do not repeat that same behavior. So that's excellent. My question, Chief, is. And I get calls all the time, I'm sure many of you do as well. This red light on this particular intersection, we need to do something about it. So I asked in our agenda study, are there other locations? I'm sure there are. Are there other locations where the crash data indicates that we need to put some measures in if such a measure is additional red light cameras? I mean, do we have such data that indicates that there are other locations?
Yeah, we actually have. We do have the data. The ones that we have in place now are our high crash intersections. We're somewhat limited by our access to public right-of-way. There's some DOT laws that we have to follow, so that kind of limits us on some of the intersections that we put in. I don't know, Hans, if you have anything you want to add to that, but I think that's about it. So we are somewhat constricted by that. So we have them everywhere that we physically can have them right now. So
thank you.
All right. Any other comments, Commissioner Mann?
Thank you, Mayor. So interestingly, Commissioner Music and I was kind of feeling the same way, wanting them divided, although I'm sort of a role reverse here because, for 6 years I've been kind of grappling with the red light camera fund, so I feel a little bit more secure about voting on that. I think it was the first time I was on TV in my job. I was implicating my son on TV, saying, well, I've had a red light camera ticket, my son's had a red light camera, named him out loud. He was mortified. So, but he's never got a second one. So I do believe that the data is correct. It is a behavior modification tool. And, you're coming and you're approaching that red light camera, you kind of feel like I'm under scrutiny. I'm either going to be obeying or not obeying a law. So I think because the license plate readers are newer, my inclination is to be more of a smart city advocate. I think this is great. It is able to do what our officers can't do in collecting the data. I did have some calls and emails over the weekend with regard to the license plate readers. I think people are not sure what kind of data they're collecting, what kind of video footage they're able to accumulate, making people a little bit more reticent about, privacy infringement. It could be that they're just honed in on that license, and it's just small clips of data that they're getting. It kind of looked like that's what it said in the, in our information that we have. But I was, coming today a little bit more, I haven't had as long to think about the license plate readers. And then someone mentioned with the Flock company in some cities that those had actually been utilized and then taken out of the cities. And so I am a little reticent today about those, not knowing where they will be deployed. I don't, have as much information. I haven't been grappling with these as long. Like I said, at first I'm like, great, sounds like a wonderful tool in your tool chest, sounds like great smart city application. Let's use this to be able to make sure we can keep our city safe. But I am a little, because of some of the people reaching out to me, I wonder if the public might need a little bit more information as to, where these would be deployed, what type of video footage they're able to evaluate.
Yes, ma'am. There's certainly no expectation of privacy. I don't think any public area that we're being recorded. You're being recorded right now, right? So if you're on the road, you're in a retail operation, certainly they tell you there's cameras. And so we're kind of operating under the same auspices now. They have the right, police officers run your tag, just being automated for them. So it's more of a safety. Every single patrol car as part of the body camera situation that we went through last year, right? So we've already have them in there. These are just fixed positions at intersections. It's no different than patrol cars right now. The only difference is these will be fixed locations at different intersections, as many nationwide. They are a force multiplier. They help us in situations where if we have some sort of a heinous crime or some sort of a situation, that camera where there's not an officer there, there's not a camera there recording, and we can go back and pull the information. They tell us it's a certain make, model car that left. The officer can go back to the tag number, or before we wouldn't have that.
Well, and I think I'm inclined to vote for this today because it is with the red light cameras, but I would like to make it public that if folks have concerns or if we hear of things after they're deployed that make people uncomfortable, that I would like to hear more information.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. And of course, like Commissioner Madden, I never got a red light ticket, but I had right turn tickets before. And of course, it does change your habits of driving. And I live near the intersection of Memorial Boulevard and Lake Parker. And when they come, there's not a camera there, and that coming through there pretty quick. And I have to look both ways and wait. Sometimes people toot the horn at me because lots of times these cars go right through that intersection. And I've seen several accidents there, and they're usually profound as opposed to just a little fender bender. And so there again, I like the component of the red light cameras because of the change of your habits per se. And of course, no one likes paying the ticket. And when we put them, when they were here, I was somewhat against them, but I think over time, it's changed my attitude. No one likes to write that check, but I tell you, I don't write the second one. So that's what it's worth.
Commissioner McLeod.
I had a similar thought as Commissioner Madden in terms of a handful of people have reached out to me since this topic came up, and just being able to connect residents with you and your team,
Absolutely.
Chief, to explain how do the license plate readers work, where are they installed, how are we using them. I had a conversation at church with someone yesterday and said LPD leadership, from their perspective, they believe these are good tools. And like you said about when you were in detective and investigations, that it would have been incredibly helpful. I think all of that is good for people to hear. And so I'll probably just continue to refer folks to you and Sergeant Mumbauer, Chief Lehman, if there are questions that come up.
Absolutely. We are incredibly sensitive to the privacy issue. There are all sorts of Florida state statutes that govern how long we keep them, and we're very, very sensitive to that. I'm very sensitive to that. I know Chief Lehman and Chad. We don't want to invade anyone's privacy, and we're very, very careful in how we do that. So I don't want my privacy invaded. I certainly don't, and I'm confident neither do the commissioners. So, but we do think it's a very good investigative tool. And we've had two, in the past, we've had two LPR cameras prior to us even putting them in the cars, where they've been on mobile trailers that we've had for years, that we would just take around and set on the side of the road at different intersections. We just had to get lucky, you know, and have them at the right intersection at the right time if a crime occurred to be able to utilize them. They're problematic, and so now we're just going to have them at fixed locations at strategic areas throughout the city. We think they'll be very helpful.
Commissioner McCarley.
I'm glad you heightened the awareness of what you're already doing, because I think people do tend to forget that if there's a patrol car behind you, they're probably running license tags, you know, as we speak, of just, you know, making sure there aren't gaps in our system, making sure that somebody is not, you know, if there's a warrant out for someone, or if someone is going a little too fast, and I'm sure they read those tags before they pull somebody over, just to have, you know, have as much information as possible before they enter into some kind of interaction with that person in front of them. So I think that's a really, for me, I am supportive of this, because I think the fixed locations will provide a lot more content for you all. And as far as privacy, as you said, and I'm glad you brought it up, where there are cameras everywhere, and this is part of how we operate in 2023, and it is very helpful when something does go wrong. So I think that I appreciate your commenting on privacy and making sure that, you know, how long that, I think that would be important for the public to know, is how long this information is held, how it's relinquished, where it goes after the fact. So all of this dialogue is very good, and I'm glad Commissioner Music brought it up. But I'm supportive of this initiative. I think the more tools you all have in your tool chest, the better it is for not only our community at large and safety, but also for our police force and making sure that they're safe at the same time.
Yes, ma'am. And I would encourage, if you do get any inquiries, send them to us. If you do happen to pass this contract, send them to us. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Music.
I did not have a question. I'm sorry, I had my hand up, but no, and I do appreciate it, because that's where I've had that split, is having the tools, having the camera out there for that, because there is no expectation of privacy on and there shouldn't be, at least on a public right of way. It's just, again, that red light camera aspect. I wish it was split, but that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Matt.
Just one more question, Chief. So sometimes people wonder, when we're implementing new technologies like the body cams, you know, whether or not the Sheriff's Department will follow suit, since we kind of cross borders. Does the Sheriff Department use the license plate readers throughout their territory? Do we know?
They do. Yes, I do know, and yes, they do.
That's who pulled him.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, right.
One more thing, and is there a protocol? I know your car tag is one thing, your truck tag is a different one, and so it used to be your birthday for cars, I believe, in truck is an annual thing. I'm not quite sure how it works, but invariably, I've gotten notice from local law enforcement that my tag has been expired, and typically, as a warning, if it's a month or two. Now, if it's several years, I would expect a ticket, but I've always gotten a warning from that standpoint. But do we have a protocol if it's 1 month, 2 months?
It used to be a criminal traffic back in my uniform days, but I will refer the traffic question ticket to Hans. So he's the
Hopefully.
traffic guy. Yeah, and I'm assuming hopefully he will have an answer, because
It was just a warning.
Commissioner Music said his was a warning too.
A couple years.
Assistant Chief Lehman, I'll try to be quick. All the tag violations are governed under Chapter 320 in the Florida statutes. And in particular, when a tag's expired more than 4 months, it becomes a violation, a criminal violation. Before that, we can cite, which is non-criminal, which is a civil infraction. Most of the time, verbal warnings given if it's just right after your birthday or within a couple weeks. But there are the guidelines like that, so by statute.
All right.
that's what I was going to say. Yes.
We always love the educational portions of our meetings. It's helpful. Any other questions by commissioners or comments? Any by members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So 6-1, sorry. And it passes. All right, that takes us to utility, and we are at B1.
B1 is proposed resolution number 23-060, a resolution relating to the electric utility, establishing the environmental compliance cost charge for all customer classes for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2023, repealing Resolution 5780, making findings, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Move for approval?
Okay, and the second?
Second.
All right, discussion by commissioners. Hearing none, any members of the audience? This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye, unanimously passes. Next.
Ramona Siriani for the City Attorney's Office. The first item we have here is a change order number 1 to the agreement with KC Industrial Inc. for underground general work for the Rice project. On August 1st, 2022, the City Commission approved an agreement with KC for the underground general work for the Rice project. During that approval process, it was contemplated that there may be some additional work that would be included under that agreement, and there was a contingency included in the amount of $505,117. However, it was determined that that amount was not sufficient to complete the project, and this particular change order number 1 addresses the scope modifications related to the design changes and also some unforeseen conditions that were discovered during the process of the project. That included discovery of underground piping, as well as some contaminated soil that needed remediation, as well as having to secure materials for the project due to Hurricanes Ian and Nicole. And one of the main points also is this will also include the installation of the engine assembly pad. And I apologize, on Friday, I believe I misspoke and said that that engine assembly pad was previously part of the above ground contractor bid, which it was not, and David Holdner was able to clarify that. And I would like him to come up now if he can, and I just want him to say for the record, to give an explanation of that, because I believe there was some confusion raised on Friday, and I want that to be clear for the record.
Thank you, appreciate that.
David Holdner, Power Plant Construction Manager. Yeah, exactly what Ramona had stated. This was never included in the above ground contract. What happened was that we had not had the engineering complete to include it in the below ground contract, so we pulled it from that spec. Then shortly thereafter, we got all the details to do the engineering on the pad. And because the underground contract had the civil equipment on site, the dozers, the trucks, the equipment, we decided to include it into the below ground spec. And then we authorized the change order for that $482,000 to complete the assembly area in that spec. So it wasn't in the below ground spec. It was never in the above ground spec. It was a change order, and we executed it under the below ground spec. It has always been part of the project. We knew we were going to have to do this. It was part of the include the engine assembly area, and so it isn't a surprise to us. The actual allotted money to complete the area was $500,000, and then we came in a little bit under that, at that 480. But it wasn't that we had it in both specs. We only had it in the. It was truly not in either spec. We just did as a change order in the below grade work list.
Helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions by commissioners? Commissioner Reed.
David, how do we come up with the contingency numbers? I know we have those in almost every project, but is that a percentage of some sort, or is there just you have to go through a total analysis and figure out what your cost overrun is going to be? You're real close here, and most of the time we are. I'm just wondering how.
It's a really good question, because it depends on two different factors. One is the Creek Beach is one of the items that we determine that. It's a percentage. So on the below grade, we came up with this year $505,000, which was a percentage, $16,800,000 that we initially quoted for that. Because we felt that there was little risk, and we felt most of the stuff was already engineered and we didn't have a lot. If it wasn't for including the assembly pad in the below grade spec, we're only off our contingency by $20,000 or $30,000, something like that. So then you go to the above grade spec where we've put in a $4 million contingency, and that's because there's lots of opportunity there for other scope creep based on something that you missed or something not working right. And so we put in a higher percentage there. So it's basically, the scope is the main thing. I mean, for a simple scope, you don't include a lot of contingency. When it's more complex, like the above grade, that's when it's a higher percentage, and that's how we determine that. And we discuss that between the contracts folks, the legal folks, and just to make sure that we think that we have it covered.
And you work to negotiate those, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Any change order that we have, we discuss and talk about before it's approved. The particular change orders under Casey, the reason why it's taken us so long to get them to you is because they had submitted charges that we did not feel was adequate. And after discussing that with the legal department and things, we reviewed that, and we went back and we were successful, and we lowered the amount by over $500,000.
Yes, I think that's a really important piece to hear. Commissioner McLeod.
No, I agree.
You just had the lean.
I was just in agreement.
Any other questions or comments? Any from any members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. All right, thank you. Appreciate those comments. Next item.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't have the motion in the second for that.
Oops, did I not do a motion?
Motion approved?
Second.
Thank you, now
Yeah, I
I
think it
do.
was Mr. Music and Commissioner Simmons, yeah, no question. Okay, number two.
We have,
Follow up, just vote one more time, just clear that up. So we had a motion and a second to approve it, and a roll call, voice vote.
Voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Thank you, City Attorney Davis. All right.
the next item that we have is an agreement for supplemental skilled labor mechanical. This is for Lakeland Electric's generation facilities. There are points of time each year that Lakeland Electric requires additional skilled labor in various disciplines to supplement the existing workforce during times of increased workloads, such as planned outages and in a particular trade. This would be to supply highly skilled journeymen, industrial mechanic millwrights on an as-needed basis to perform journeyman level work. A total of 2 firms responded to the city's bid that was issued in August of this year. We have JKF Maintenance and Construction LLC from Bartow, Florida, and TEI Construction Services with its corporate offices in Duncan, South Carolina. And I believe there was an issue raised by Utility Committee Member English on Friday with regard to the specification, which requires the contractor to keep and maintain a local office or maintain a home office and shop. And that requirement was within 70 miles of the plant. And city staff was able to verify that the local office was located exactly 56.5 miles from McIntosh plant, and that office is located in Pinellas Park, Florida, which is in Pinellas County. So that did meet the requirements upon the evaluation process, so I wanted to make that point, clarify that point as well. The agreement with each of the firms will be effective for a 1-year term through September 30th, 2024, and then also contains 4 additional 1-year renewal options upon mutual written agreement of the parties. The total estimated cost for the first year supplemental labor mechanical is approximately $200,000. That's included in Lakeland Electric's FY24 budget. The estimated cost for the 5-year agreement is $1 million. That would be subject to City Commission approval of the budget in subsequent budget years. And obviously that amount can be a little bit lower, but if it is higher, we would come back to the commission for approval of that. And this did receive favorable approval from the Utility Committee on Friday as well.
Is there a motion to
Move for approval.
Second.
And discussion by commissioners? Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. I didn't read the entire agreement, for one. And I know that we're going to vote on the one immediately next to in reference to welders. Give me an idea what they per diem they would get and stuff like that.
I would have to defer. Miles Duntler from the plant can speak to that.
Also, Miles, as you speak, why we need this? as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner, for the question. I do have the rates. The rates between the two companies, Straight Time, for instance, dances around $50 to $70 an hour. That's on Straight Time, and just a little bit increased on overtime. The per diem rates, again, around $110 a day, depending on which one and how far they are away. That would be outside of 50 miles from our location.
Thank you.
Why we need them. With Unit 3 going away, our shop size for full-time equivalents is down to 3 mechanics and a mechanical foreman. For the welders, we have 1.
Wow.
So special projects, outage time frame, just to get through our work orders or preventative maintenance, it's absolutely imperative that we have some supplemental folks. And we do realize quite a cost savings when it comes to turnkey bidding some of this scope as opposed to executing it in-house.
Well, if welders are higher, aren't they? More expensive?
That's our.
Well, it depends again on what level of skill set you're getting. If you're just boilerplate welding, maintaining some handrails and stuff around the site, that's one rate. And then if you're doing something like high energy piping, of course, you need the G6 certified welder and the full weld program.
Would most of our needs, would our welders need to be x-rayed and stuff like that?
I'm sorry.
Would our welders need, I mean, if our pipe work, would they need to be x-rayed?
So that's a code weld, and these bids are not for code weld. We brought an item to the commission for the R-stamp code welds for such instances about a year ago. So this is just the supplemental day-to-day. This is not the boiler code weld type work that would need an X-ray or phased array or the full 9 yards.
Anything like that, just basically just welding, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner, appreciate that. Any other questions? Any members of the audience? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes, and that takes us to similar motion for the welders.
Yes, this is agreement for supplemental skilled labor welding for Lakeland Electric's generation facilities that you just heard Miles discuss. Again, this is to supplement the existing workforce at Lakeland Electric in times of increased workload during planned outages. The city's purchasing department issued an invitation to bid in August of 2023. We received, our total of 3 firms responded. The 2 evaluated firms that were deemed to be most responsive and responsible to that bid were JKF Maintenance and Construction LLC of Bartow, Florida, and TEI Construction Services with its corporate office in Duncan, South Carolina, and its local office in Pinellas Park, Florida. Again, these agreements will be for a 1-year initial term, and they contain 4 additional 1-year renewal options upon mutual written agreement of the parties. The anticipated yearly cost for the first year is approximately $200,000, which is included in Lakeland Electric's FY24 budget. And then the estimated total for the 5-year agreement is approximately $1 million, and that will be subject to subsequent approval, budget approval by the City Commission in future budget years.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second, and discussion by commissioners.
And this also received favorable recommendation from the utility committee.
Any discussion by any members of the audience? Seeing none, there's a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
Next item we have is a task authorization with Miller Electric Company. This is for security systems installation for the Rice project. In December, the City Commission approved a continuing contract with Miller for security systems repairs. This is for the Rice project as it approaches completion. Miller Electric will be installing standard security systems that would provide for access controls as well as video surveillance. Miller will begin the installation work of these systems in the spring of 2024 with the anticipated completion as the Rice project comes to an end in June of 2024. 2024. All the services pursuant to this task authorization will be in accordance with the terms and conditions contained in the existing continuing contract with Miller Electric Company. The total cost of the work is $147,767.46. That is included in Lakeland Electric's RICE project budget, which was funded by the issuance of the revenue bond, Energy System Revenue Bond. And this also received favorable approval from the Utility Committee on Friday as well.
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion or questions by commissioners? Seeing none, any members of the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
The next item that we have is an agreement with Polytech Services. This is for direct current systems batteries for the RICE project. This is for the purchase of the direct current or DC systems batteries, chargers, and uninterruptible power supply for the RICE project to provide the plant and engine controls if incoming power fails. On July 6, 2023, the city's purchasing department issued an invitation to bid to provide these DC system battery chargers and uninterrupted power source for the RICE project. The city received responses from 3 contractors. Upon evaluation by city staff, and Sargent & Lundy, which is the consulting engineer for the project, Polytech was selected as the most responsible bidder capable of providing the components at the lowest price. You'll see in your agenda packet, there was an initial bid price, and then there's an adjusted bid price. During the review of the initial bids, adjustments were required from all the bidders to include shipping and to address some modified equipment configuration and selection requirements that weren't addressed in the initial bid. So upon final evaluation, Polytech was determined to be the only bidder capable of providing the complete package in accordance with the city's bid specifications. And you'll see as well, even with the adjusted bid price, Alpine Power Systems came in a little bit lower, but they couldn't provide the necessary switchboards and distribution panels and battery disconnects that were required, which was why Polytech Services was ultimately evaluated as the most responsible bidder for this particular project. The total adjusted bid price for Polytech was $517,128. In addition to that, an additional $7,500 was added not only to Polytech's adjusted bid price, but to the remaining bids, so that there would be that would cover the construction bond price, which was covered the entire value of the purchase. Upon approval, the equipment is scheduled to be delivered in June of 2024. It will be installed by Rayco, our above-ground contractor for the RICE project. Polytech will provide all materials and equipment in accordance with the city's bid specifications. The total cost of the purchase is $524,628. Again, that is included in the overall budget for the RICE project and which is funded through the city's Energy System Revenue Bond. This also received favorable approval by the Utility Committee on Friday as well.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion by commissioners or questions? Any members of the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
The last item that we have is a natural gas sales agreement with the city of Blountstown, Florida. This is a prepaid natural gas agreement for the purchase of 5,000 MMBTUs of natural gas per day in order to obtain some additional savings, and also provides adequate assurance for Lakeland Electric as it relates to having natural gas during peak periods of use. This is similar to what the City Commission approved back in 2021 with the City of Leesburg. In accordance with this transaction, Florida Gas Utilities will buy a supply of gas from Black Belt Energy and sell it to the City of Blountstown, which will then sell the natural gas to the City of Lakeland for use by Lakeland Electric to generate electricity. The purchase of this particular amount of natural gas represents a small portion of the total amount of Lakeland Electric Lakeland Electric's daily natural gas supply, which is around 11%. And then one of the important points to note, if we don't need this particular amount of gas, we can also sell that to our Florida Municipal Power Pool members or FGU as well. The initial term of the agreement commences April 1st, 2024. It'll continue through March 31st, 2029. And in accordance with the agreement, Lakeland Electric will receive 80% of the minimum discount rate of 45 cents from the bond issuance to the city of Blountstown, which equates to 36 cents per MMBTU. There is a ability to terminate the agreement during the initial term. It's a 1-year notice requirement that the city can terminate prior to purchasing, prior to the termination. However, if we do exercise that right, then we would be prohibited for a period of 2 years from entering into another type of transaction like this. There is a remarketing period. During the remarketing period for this item, there is a minimum discount floor of 17 cents. Which again, Lakeland Electric would receive 80% of the discounted rate, or 13.6 cents per MMBTU. While the agreement is structured so the discount rate cannot be lower than 45 cents per MMBTU on the initial offering, it can also be greater than that amount. And during the remarketing period, the discount cannot be lower than 17 cents, or the agreement can be terminated by the city with no further obligation. The agreement also requires, as I said, a 1-year termination prior to each renewal date during the contract term. The estimated minimum savings to the city pursuant to this agreement for prepaid natural gas is approximately $3,286,800 over a 5-year period. So that represents some significant savings for the utility. And as well, this agreement is also contingent on the city of Blountstown being able to secure financing for the bond issuance for the purchase of this natural gas and able to meet the minimum discounts. So if the minimum discounts aren't met pursuant to this agreement, we have no further obligation and there's really no risk to the utility. So it's a benefit. And Tori Bombard's here. She can do a much better job of explaining all the financials than I can, if you have any specific questions about that.
Move for approval.
Second?
There's a motion approved in a second and discussion by commissioners. This is another piece of Tori's brilliant work on acquiring gas prices well for tax exempt entities, which we are in. So we thank you for that. Is there anything we should round out from your point of view, Tori?
Bill, I have one point.
Sure. And while you are walking up, Bill Reed has a question.
In reference, it's very unlikely we're not going to use this 11%, but in the event we were to sell part of our 11%, do we get the discount, or we have to share that discount with the potential buyer?
Whenever we don't need gas, we will market it on that day's value. So say we do have the discount of, say, the 36 cents, maybe I might sell it to somebody for the 5 cent. So we're getting the benefit. Right now, we currently have 10,000 MMBTUs. We do the prepaids. This will move us up to 15. So we are getting the savings that way too. But it allows us to, like if my fuel buyers are trying to sell that day and the market's only giving, say, 6 cents, we can give 7 cents more incentive that they'll want to take our gas. We don't give away the full discount, but we can give you a better deal.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And anything else you want to explain?
I mean, these prepaids, right now when we do base load gas, the best I can get is about 5 cents off. So the only way you can get the deep discounts is by entering into these long-term deals. And the reason that we partner with other cities is because I'd have to come up here and say, I need a 30-year bond. And so if you have another city, we can get out, this is they're signing up for the 30-year deal. Of course, with the pricing, It usually can happen anywhere between the 5th year to the 7th year where they go back to market. So it allows us not to be on the hook. It's a way for us to get the discount. We can get out of the deal. I'm not committing the utilities debt, for 30 years, but I'm able to get you the bigger savings. Yes, we're only getting 80% of the deal versus 100, but we're not taking the risk. That's why we do it.
Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Tori. I know, a lot of people will say, oh, that gas contract. When they point to the historic gas contract that was lengthy, and it was prior to fracking, right? So we didn't anticipate that fracking would cause our prices to go low, and then we were stuck in a contract paying higher for gas. Is that kind of what the scenario historically was that folks were afraid of in the past for Lakeland Electric? And that's kind of why now we don't do these long-term contracts?
No, I mean, this contract's based on the index. So whatever the Zone 3 index is, if it's $3, we're going to get the discount off that. So it's not, it's not putting us under the risk. When you buy baseload gas, I'm taking 5,000 MMBTUs a day, whether I need it or not, okay? So you have to be careful when you do baseload that you don't, have too high a percentage. That's why we say this is only 11%. We normally burn about, on average, 50,000 M's a day. So this is with everything, not just this deal, 15,000. So I've got a lot of wiggle room there. I can run Larson 8, I can run Mac GT, I can run the Rice units, and that's enough gas just to run those plants. So you never want to base load more than, because Unit 5 will have an outage, so I wouldn't want to have 50 M's on because although I can move the gas to the pool because they'll generate for us, you just have to minimize your risk. And I think that was the problem in the past with the prepaids. People were worried that you're base loading too high.
Thank you.
Are you referring back to the FMPA contract? So I think she's also going back to the FMPA contract from...
Well, the FMPA contract, that was I believe, a purchase power agreement where we were selling our fuel to the to generate, but we didn't have an escalator on the price of gas. So whatever they put in the contract, I'm not familiar with it. Say it was $3 and the price of gas went to 10, we could only charge them the $3 for the fuel. And that's why we were losing money, because that's not what it cost us to purchase power. In this case, this is just a discount off what I buy gas.
Yeah, this is completely separate and apart.
They're different.
Completely different worlds, because
Different
that's
worlds.
important.
One is purchase power, what we're selling to somebody, and this is what I'm buying the fuel for.
This just gives us an opportunity to buy fuel for less.
That's all it does.
That's the bottom line.
Does that help?
Yes, very much so. Thank you. It's confusing to us, generally speaking, and so I appreciate the amplification. Any other questions? By any members of the audience? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Are there any audience members who'd like to make any 5-minute or less presentation? Seeing none, that allows us to open it up to the commission. So, Commissioner Simmons, do you have anything you'd like to share this morning?
Actually, no.
No, thank you.
Just a real quick reminder, there's Ridge League of Cities is having their dinner at Nora Mayo Hall in Winter Haven on October 12th from 6 to 9, and we'll be gathering Toys for Tots. So any staff who want to go or any fellow commissioners, I would love for you to join us. Just bring an unwrapped toy for Toys for Tots.
Thank you very much.
County.
And if we're doing other meetings, we have a TPO meeting coming up October 12th. It's important for us to all attend. And Commissioner Madden. Commissioner Reed.
Yes, everybody should be aware on October the 4th at 2:20, they're going to have the emergency alert system go off all day. It's a nationwide thing. So if your TV and your computers go and your cell phone goes crazy, you'll know why.
Good.
Thank you for that heads up.
Thank you. I did not know that.
If weather's bad, it's going to happen on the same time on the 11th.
Oh, so that it wouldn't set off a concern. Okay, Commissioner McLeod.
Just a thank you to our sign language interpreters for being here today, staying through the entire meeting. It's always good to have them with us. Thank you.
Excellent. And I could open this up if you have any additional items. Okay. Thank you. With seeing none, we are adjourned.